Yeah, but your scientists were so preoccupied with whether or not they could, they didn't stop to think if they should.
Da 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 da. Da 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 da. Wait, did I already do this one? Do 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 do. Hey hey, what? Hey guys, welcome back to the Bucket Think Tank. So, Joker Year One. This was a thing. It happened. 3 issues. And honestly, I didn't enjoy it. I think it's kind of obvious. Kind of obvious. Um, but first, let's get our Funko out of the way here. Um, who I felt was appropriate for this one because I think what DC needs is some hard discipline, and I can't think of anyone better than Olivier Mira Armstrong. There we go. There we go. Get the lady from Briggs down here. Mm-hmm. But anyway, if you recall, we last left off with Batman. Um, he was engaging old Failsafe, Zur En Ar, inside Failsafe, and that went about as well as you thought it would, going by what we saw. A pure Batman in a machine designed by pure Batman to fight the war on crime, actually also to stop Batman. So, yeah, went about as well as you thought it would. He saw Joker. Joker was in a full brace. Like, yeah, let me tell you how I found out about all this. And so, what happens then is Joker Year One becomes a story told in the past and in the future. So we have Batman telling a story about the last big fight with Joker. Well, he's going through one big final fight with Joker where he's Jokerized the entire planet. And then we pick up pretty much immediately where we left off in the Killing Joke, i.e., um, he joins the Red Hood gang. You know, the whole thing at Ace Chemicals, the Fall In, comes out, goes a bit insane. There's some more people coming by here. What happens then is just sort of the progression of the character we know to be the Joker. It's a slow, sort of weird, insane process. Like he goes to see who he thinks is his wife, saying, "Hey, hey, hey, Sally, Sally, all right, it's me. It's okay. I'm a little messed up, but I'm fine. I'm fine." He runs off. Turns out this is not Sally. All right, which makes sense because in the Three Jokers, it turns out she's hiding. She and her daughter are hiding. So yeah, whatever. Um, so is what it is. Then 6 months later, we see Joker sort of descend into the madness. In other words, he's becoming something close to what we know him as. At the same time, 6 months later, Jim Gordon is still a member of Internal Affairs. If I'm not mistaken, I think he's still in Internal Affairs. And the current commissioner is sort of dragging his feet on investigating more members of the Red Hood gang. Because that's what's going on now. The Red Hood gang is still out there, and even more so, what remains is also breaking off into smaller splinter groups. Like, hey, we're the Black Hood gang. We're the Red Tie. We're the Green Tie gang. We're the Black Hooded gang. How you doing? There's a lot of us. And then we cut more to the story of the Joker and Barbara Gordon, I think, is commissioner here. And apparently, at some point, Bruce is like, you know what, just lock him up, euthanize him, and keep him in there. I'm like, at that point, couldn't we just kill him? Like, at that point, the biggest suspension of disbelief to me has always been not that Batman hasn't killed the Joker, it's that no one in any of the Arkham, any of the asylums, whether it be Blackgate or just him on his way to police custody, on the way to to the asylum, to the hospital, that no one's thought, you know what, we could just end this right now. All right, just end it right now. Oh no, um, we accidentally slit his wrist. Like he wouldn't calm down. We were trying to like put the IV in him. We couldn't put an air bubble in there. Like weird. But anyway, Joker escapes, and then we cut to the past again, with Joker trying to sort of get a sense of back to normalcy with the old gang, and that doesn't quite work out, and we really sort of see a character that's sort of lost trying to find himself, while the GCPD and Gordon are sort of trying to understand the relationship with Batman. It's purple gloves, Batman. That's fun. That's fun. And with their investigation, Joker ultimately is also finally sort of pushed over the edge by seeing Batman, and that sort of makes sense. You know, the person who was there the night he was quote unquote created, whether he pushed, fell, or whatever, it doesn't matter. And he even sort of strangles his past self, like the person who Joker used to be, a sort of scared, probably not well person, but not a monster. And then he's met by Daniel. All right, and you may know Daniel from what was it, The Night Story by Chip Zdarsky, and he was one of the people Bruce trained with to become Batman. All right, well, at least to become who we would later figure out as Batman. And he's like, "Hey, I'm gonna help you. I see you there." My question is, what is he doing here? Like, I don't quite get this part. I don't think the story ever explained what he's doing here. He's also the smartest man on the planet. All right, so yeah, he's so smart. He's like, you know what? I'm just gonna not help anybody with anything because it's best for me. I'm like, you know what? Respect. But now he's sort of helping this guy to complete himself. And then we cut back to the story of Joker. So apparently, at some point in the future, Joker will Jokerize, I guess, all of Gotham City or the planet. I don't think the story ever commits to an answer to that one, but whatever. And it's, yeah, pretty dystopian, pretty zombie apocalypse. And, yeah, it's sort of, it just is. I think it's sort of the problem. A lot of it is just Bruce sort of trying to unpack and comprehend his history with the Joker and their relationship. And, Joker loves Batman and Batman hates the Joker. I'm like, okay. There's a lot of apathy I feel from this story. But anyway, there's whole investigations, Batman looking into how the ACE chemicals affect the human body, because he goes over one of the people that fell in and died. So it is what it is. Daniel talks to the Joker to him like, hey, I think I can help you sort of reach the pinnacle of where you're trying to be. I helped Batman. I trained him. And he was close. He was close to reaching perfection, but he didn't. And presumably this is where he tells him about Zur En Ar, because Joker knows about Zur En Ar Batman, or Batman Z. So this discussion is sort of helping him to go this extra mile. And one of the things it goes through is a series of training to help deal with pain and whatnot. We see a Joker that is very capable. Like, I think the problem with Joker before the training with Daniel is his mind is sort of all over the place. He's having trouble sort of finding a focus, what drives him. He understands that, to some extent, it's Batman, but I don't think he quite can wrap his head around it yet, to some extent. And then, of course, we get more of this story with Batman Joker in the future, and the poisoning, and it's just so weird. And then more of the investigation with the Red Hood gang and internal affairs, and the sort of corrupt cop who shoots. So we got two corrupt cops. They're both members of the Red Hood gang, but Gordon's got one of them, and so they arrange a whole situation so they can shoot him before he says anything. So yeah, Gordon realizes that's what happened, and like, no, I know exactly what's going on here, but the problem is the GCPD is dealing with pretty much the height of its corruption, which is pretty much when Gordon arrives. We sort of see the GCPD as a cesspool. It is a place where, how do I want to say it? You will never find a more wretched hive of scum and villainy. There we go. I think that sums it up just well. We see more of the discussion between Daniel and the Joker, the sort of training to cancel out pain, to sort of control the body so you can, with the mind. So in other words, the whole idea is that your brain is your ultimate weapon, all right? And this sort of makes sense for the Joker and Batman, the fact that, they don't have any special powers, they don't have any sort of healing factor. So if they can control their brain, use their brain to control their bodies. This explains why Batman can focus on with so little sleep, why Joker's able to endure all this pain. All of it is courtesy of Daniel, understanding their mind, operating on very little sleep, and it works. But then it goes a step further. Daniel shows him how to compartmentalize personalities. So Daniel, for example, compartmentalizes in his head a portion of his rage, so that if ever Daniel needs to use that rage, he can sort of summon up pure rage. And Daniel points out, Batman did this. He sort of created that. That's where Batman's Zur En Ar comes from. And then the question is, how far did Batman get with it? And Daniel seems to imply he's really sort of scratched the surface. So Joker, according to Daniel, exceeds Batman already. He's able to grasp it. He sees the potential of multiple personalities. And so we sort of get the three Jokers in its own way, in one person. We see the clown, all right, who Daniel described as an imp with a demon inside. The second personality is the demon himself. And Daniel says, I never really believed in sort of the concept of heaven or hell, but he does sort of look at the demon persona and feels like this person's been around for centuries tormenting people. And that feels a bit like Snyder's take on Joker. And there is something I think Zdarsky's trying to do here, but we'll get to that. We'll get to that later. And then there's this other one, cold, dark. It's hard to tell exactly how we define this one to the era. This might be your final Jokers. Like, this is the real big one, the one who will finally do the final big thing. I think it's also the bad guy in the surface. Alright? At the end of the day, Joker does hurt people. He likes to hurt people. But there's also a certain sort of cold, calculating nature to it. I think that's where that one is. That one's always there. Just like with, the method to the madness. Sort of that scene in The Dark Knight when Joker puts the gun in Harvey's hand and puts it to his head. But if you look at Joker's hand, he's making sure that Harvey can't pull the trigger. So that's that element of control that's always there. But Daniel's like, maybe I shouldn't have done this. But it was like, no, this is great. I've succeeded. Should I have succeeded? Discussion for another time. So then we go back to the whole idea of Jokerizing people and Batman figuring it out. And it just sort of goes on, and Selina has aged beautifully. I'm pretty sure she dyed that hair. And she has, sealed away the Bat family for their own safety because they've been Jokerized. Then Joker shows up and Jokerizes Selina and frees the Bat family. And we cut back to the past where Joker kills Daniel. And to be fair, this is a great final picture of Joker. The man has been created. It's great. And Daniel seems to imply that he did all this because he's so fascinated with Bruce that he felt like this is what he needs. This final push. And it just... No, I don't know. So then we get to the final bit of this, sort of where it all comes together. The Red Hood gang, under new control of Joker, comes in and pretty much cleans house, alright? Deals with, during the ensuing scuffle, the Red Hood gang sort of clears out its police connections for the most part, and Joker gets what he wants, which was access to the armory. It's just sort of one huge big story, and that doesn't ultimately go anywhere at the end of it. But it does sort of explain how Joker knows about Zur En Ar. And here's the thing. A lot of people razzing on this story, and I get why. But at the end of the day, this story was always going to happen. Zdarsky just happened to be the one to do it. People have always wanted a Joker origin story. Everyone's just like, oh, you'll spoil the origin. Then why is the Killing Joke so popular? The Killing Joke then cops out by the Joker going, well, why not do multiple choice for an origin story? It's still something close to an origin story. And ever since Joker War, with the whole Joker revealing that he knows that Batman is Bruce Wayne, what other mystery is there other than talk about the Joker? So in other words, for the first time, I'm not gonna blame Tom King for this. I'm not even really blaming Tynion for writing Joker War. I'm not even gonna blame Scott Snyder, who I need to find something to blame Scott Snyder for. But the Joker's always been this problem for DC. All right, he's this chaotic element that should have been killed off, or at least someone should kill him. Like the biggest suspension of disbelief in comics is that no one has killed the Joker. It's kind of it, and this story here is sort of emblematic of the fact. So, as Batman and Joker as Batman keeps getting more and more competent, through the stories of Grant Morrison's Justice League, where he's able to deal with White Martian invasion better than the Justice League can, Tower of Babel, stories like Endgame with Scott Snyder, uh, even Tom King's Batman. The more competent Batman gets, the more Joker has to rise to reach the challenge of him, as well as everyone else. So DC's tried for the most part to do a good job with that, but they always come back to the Joker because the Joker is able to upset the status quo in the best way. He kills Jason Todd, he cripples Barbara Gordon, he takes over the city in ways that other criminals can't even imagine. He pushes Batman on so many levels that he has to rise to the occasion. The problem is, though, he's also, like Batman, a bit oversaturated. On the plus side, Joker doesn't show up in every story DC does. Batman does. Well, most of them. But the problem is, he's always had to reach that pinnacle. Zdarsky is really only responding to the environment DC Comics has created with the Joker. Joker's been the best and worst thing that happened in DC Comics. Kind of it, in my mind, anyway. This story has some interesting ideas to it. The concept of the three Jokers being a sort of mental game, sort of like three different personas to Joker, sort of Zdarsky trying to say, hey, this is why Joker's been so different, so erratic. He's been using those personalities all this time. That sort of enters the realm of Jeff Johns' Three Jokers, but it also makes it its own thing, because there were definitely three different Jokers, and presumably there were more Jokers. Right? Going by that scene we saw at Ace Chemicals with the Joker, where he strangles those other Jokers, and seeing that Batman is examining a body that had been at Ace Chemicals, there were more likely other Jokers, a lot more. In other words, there's some truth to the Arkham Knight plotline. That one is just but whatever. Ultimately, the problem with this story is all we needed was one scene to say, hey, this is how I know about Batman Zur En Ar. The story with Daniel, I think, made sense. Giving Joker this sort of focus, I felt was interesting. Sort of the idea that we saw Joker sort of rounding on, not knowing who he is, sort of moving through the fog of his new mentality, as he sort of teeters between being the person he wants to be, which is the Joker, and then being the Joker. An interesting thing is, if you go with that sort of Other Earth story, where, Bruce ends up on another Earth that doesn't have Batman, and there's a Joker, well, a guy that should be the Joker, but is the Joker, and wants to be the Joker, sort of weird. But we are sort of... It's weird. It's weird. It didn't need to be weird. We didn't need this three-part story. All it needed was one issue. Only was one issue. This whole story of Joker infecting the world, or just Gotham City, it's already happened. It's a very pretentious, over-the-top story, but then again, this is what Joker does to stories. This is what Joker does to Batman writers, alright? Scott Snyder's Batman run, I felt, was ruined by the Joker, alright? And I enjoyed Death of the Family, but Snyder likes to up the ante. Someone said he's, like, insecure, that, he feels he has to keep going so hard, and I think there could be some truth to that. In other words, Scott Snyder, if you're listening to this, you're a good writer. You are. Your Court of Owls story was great. Death of the Family was great. I would say the really only problem with Endgame was that the stuff in between, i.e. the Bat Family coming together, didn't land well. But you don't have to try so hard, man. Love yourself. The fans do. It's just... Joker is... I don't want to say it. Joker's junk food. He is. The less you use of him, the better. If you make your entire story about Joker, you tend to have a really bad story in my mind. Because everyone wants to deconstruct the Joker. Everyone wants to deconstruct his relationship with Batman. It's been done, alright? There's nothing new you can bring to this. I think that's sort of the worst part about this story, is that in terms of the dynamic with Batman, what else is there? We already went through Joker War, where Joker revealed that he knew Bruce Wayne was Batman. Alright? So I don't quite get it. I personally like the idea that Joker can't connect the two dots together. Where Lex Luthor sort of refuses to see the idea that Superman is Clark Kent. Like, I don't. No, there's no way someone as pathetic as you can be Superman. All right, no. With Joker, to him, it's like it doesn't matter. It's like, I don't care. All right, as long as you want to put the suit on, I don't care. Like, I don't care who's underneath that mask. The game is all that matters. I think that speaks more to the chaotic element of the Joker, revealing at the end that he's kind of always known, but he's like, a bit better now, in terms of his sanity. He's like, hey, you know what? It's about time I did something with that. Would be better for an Elseworld story, I think. In which case, read Batman White Knight. Love yourself enough, read Batman White Knight. Yeah, like, here's the thing. I've enjoyed most of Zdarsky's stuff on Batman. All right, I think it is not necessarily super refreshing, but I think it's better than most people give it credit for. But I think this story here is sort of where I'm just sort of no, and of course it's with the Joker. All right, so yeah, I couldn't be any more low energy about this if I tried, could I? So anyway, yeah, with that, managed brings to a close here. If you're new to the book, thank you for like, comment, share, subscribe. What did you think about this story? Did you like it? Did you hate it? Apparently this is going to play a bigger role in something else. The Batman's failsafe Zur En Ar is going to play a bigger role in, I guess, the summer event with Amanda Waller, so that'll be something interesting to talk about, I guess, kind of, sort of, maybe, not really, who knows, and I will catch you all later. This is Bucket Think Tank signing off. Thanks for watching. As always, may your fandom serve you well.